no growth comes without discomfort. Not only is that physically true, that's true of your leadership, that's true of knowledge, that's true in a company. If we're going to truly grow as individuals, we have to get out of our comfort zone.
Making history with Cone Health's first female CEO, driving innovation and redefining patient care with unshakable vision and impact. Welcome, Mary Cagle.
What would you say to someone to change that and to be more open to new things?
If someone wants an opportunity for growth, whether it's personal or from a business point of view, one has to say, I at least need to examine this new opportunity. It doesn't mean you have to say yes to every opportunity. In fact, you shouldn't say yes to every opportunity, but you have to at least look at the opportunity and say, where could this possibility potentially take me or take my organization? And, there's a saying that I really like that says, there's no growth without discomfort. I don't know if this happened to you, but I remember my brother when he was going through puberty, and in 1 year he went from 5'4" to 6'4". And I remember during those years that he had what we called growing pains. His legs would just ache. I remember my mom at night would go in and rub his legs for him because those bones were growing so fast, right?
Yeah.
But when he got to 6'4", he was so proud of being so tall, right? Would hit the top of the door, hit the ceiling, typical for males when they're going through that. But it wasn't fun necessarily growing that fast. Yeah. It hurt. And I always think of him when I hear that statement that no growth comes without discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is that physically true, that's true of your leadership, that's true of knowledge, that's true in a company. If we're going to truly grow as individuals, we have to get out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and so I think that's true of when we look at opportunities. An opportunity might not look comfortable, but it might be exactly what we need to really go to that next level of growth. So that's what I'd offer to people.
And with that, you had mentioned speak your dreams out loud concept in the past. What kind of impact does that have on accomplishing your dreams or growing in professional or business or personal career?
So if you don't say something out loud, it doesn't seem real. It's just some fantasy in your head. When you speak something out loud, it begins to take on a real, this isn't just something I've thought about that's a fantasy. It's a real idea that has a base in the future. It's a place I am going. Mm-hmm. And then, not only have you said it out loud, others have heard it. And then you can get several things. You can get cheerleaders who will cheer you on. You can get mentors who will help you get there. You'll get sponsors who will introduce you to people to help you achieve that. When you start speaking your dreams out loud, there will be a whole crowd of people who will come behind you to help you get there. And I'll just, again, share my own personal story. I, as a little girl, heard at church, heard a lady doctor tell her story. And her story was that she was a doctor, and she was a doctor in India, and she was building a hospital. So my dad was a brick mason. So he built things. But it was all men on his job, right?
Yeah.
And our family doctor was a male doctor. And I was in this little small town. There were no women doctors. So imagine this little girl hearing a woman doctor who is building a hospital. And I was just mesmerized. And so I went at my next checkup to our family doctor, and his name was Dr. Kerry Gwynn, big, tall man. And especially to the 3-year-old little girl, he seemed very tall in his long white coat. And it was my checkup. I got off the scales, and he walked by, and he said, "Hi, Mary Jo." And I said, "Dr. Grant, I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up." And his nurse said, "Oh, you mean you're going to be a nurse?" And Dr. Grant looked at me and said, "No, she said she's going to be a doctor." And he picked me up and went and had my exam. And afterwards, we always went into his office. And this time he sat me up on his big desk. And he said, "Tell me about this thing that you want to be a doctor." And I said, "Yes, I am going to be a doctor." And he said, "Well, if that's what you want to do, here's what you have to do." He said, "Mama needs to go and get you a library card, and you need to start learning your letters." I was 3. Your letters and your numbers, and you need to learn how to read. That day, my mother took me to the library and got me a library card. After that, every time he saw me, he said, "Are you still going to be a doctor?" That man encouraged me the rest of my life. He became my first person that I said my dream out loud to. And for the rest of my life, until he died.
At Juliant, we're with you at every milestone, and your brightest dreams never have to fade. At Juliant, we help you shine. That's brighter banking. Juliant Federal Credit Union.
He called me when I got in practice. I was in South Carolina. He called me on the phone to say, "Tell me about your practice, Mary Jo." I mean, I can't even begin to tell you what that man meant to me achieving that dream. But I could tell you lots of stories about people who supported me on the way. Will there be naysayers? Sure. But you'll have many more supporters than you will have naysayers. So that's why it's important to say it out loud.
And when I started this podcast, it took me about 3 or 4 months to tell someone about it. I mean, besides my girlfriend. And I don't know, I was just like scared to tell people. I was going to be like, they're probably going to disapprove or say, "But why are you doing that?" And I told my boss about it. He's like, "Oh, that's so cool. You should definitely do that." And he's my first sponsor. And like you said, I mean, unless I said it to them, it just would have never happened.
That's right. Speaking it out loud starts a series of events. Mm-hmm. And how many people have told you no when you asked them if you could interview them?
A lot.
How many have said yes?
A good amount too. I would say if I've reached out to 100 people, 15 or 20 might have said yes. I'll take that. I mean,
that's
especially
right.
Starting off, I mean, it's crazy that I'm able to sit in rooms with you and other folks and to just talk about your experience.
You're about to interview a former ambassador for the U.S., right?
Yeah.
That's right. So your list of people is with their titles is pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. That definitely, I enjoy these conversations, and I watch the videos back and try to submerge myself a little more into the conversation.
Well, yeah, your dream's growing. Mm-hmm. That's great. Good for you.
Thank you. So you've been doctor for a long time, and you've seen a lot of shifts in healthcare systems and the way they work. Do you think the people who are insured have the right opportunities, or they have the accessibility to be able to access healthcare? And if not, I mean, what do you think needs to change?
Honestly, I think people who have insurance are probably in better shape than those who are what I call the self-employed, hardworking folks who don't have as good access to insurance, or the working poor. I think since, for instance, North Carolina has expanded Medicaid, that we're doing better. I'm not sure that all of our Medicaid patients have as good access as they need. But one of my big concerns is for folks who have their own businesses and are working really hard, but can't figure out how they can afford insurance.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big holes in our healthcare system right now that we need to work on. As I said, my father was a brick mason, and he came from a family of brick masons. They were all self-employed. They all worked really hard. Sometimes they worked 2 jobs, but because they were self-employed, they had to, if they had insurance, they had to pay for it themselves, right? And that's hard. And my grandfather never saw a doctor until he had his first heart attack. And the second time he saw a doctor is when his second heart attack and died. And that still happens in this country today. And we can do better than that. And so part of why we are doing this partnership with Risant Health is to move to a new model of healthcare. That rather than everybody having to pay for every visit to the doctor, that we have a different model that says, if you pay your premium, then we'll cover your health care. And it's up to us to let that premium that you pay cover the cost of all your health care. Because right now, as you know, you pay your premium and then you still have to pay for all of your visits, right?
Yeah, deductible, and then when...
Yeah, right. So we think we can do it. We can do better. And that's really what we're on a goal to do. And we want everybody to be able to access. That also means we need to have places closer to where everybody lives, and that people, and access means a lot of things to a lot of people. Can I get an appointment when I need it and want it? Can I afford that appointment? Or it also might mean, do I really need to go in? Can I just ask a question online and get my question answered? So understanding what it is people want, right? And being able to give them what it is they're asking for. Do they want a virtual visit? Some visits can happen virtually. Some need to happen in person. So offering the right kind of care at the price people can afford at the time that they want it. I think for me, that's what access is.
Well, I think definitely in the right direction. I mean, you know a lot more about it than I do, but not a lot of people are doing that, and to see that y'all are, I mean, that's incredible. That's cool.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you
for joining us, and thank you.
Well, good luck, Elvis. I think you're doing some good work.